Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Things I Like to Look at and Talk About. Um, to my few subscribers I've got so far, maybe more in the future, we'll wait and see. But I do apologize for a bit of a delay in between my last and this video of walking around the garden and looking at things and doing other things because the last few weeks have been both murderously hot as we are in the dog days of summer. Just ended August. We're now into September, the burr months for most of the nation, not so much for the tropics. But we we've had a couple of weeks of some, or at least me personally, and a few helpers I've got, trying to get a few maintenance done on a few rental units that some of the maintenance was a bit overdue. Finish up to get them rented for the landlord that owns them, and it's just as I said, it's been dog days of summer all through the end of August, and murderously humid, hot, especially here in the tropics, and yeah, been rough on. I'm not saying I'm an old man, but I'm an older adult, and it's rough. It gets rough. I've been in the tropics all my life, and I can tell you as it gets older, it don't get no easier. That's all there is to it. Don't get no easier. The heat, when you're sweating every pore on your body is pouring sweat out. Yeah, it gets rough. Anyway, as said, we've been trying to do some cleanup or beginning cleanup of a really, I want to use the word terramus, because this one rental that we've got to work on has been left in a ghastly state by the previous tenants. They did have to finally go, not on their own accord, but the landlord have to give them all that paperwork kind of stuff through, the official means. And they finally went, but they just left that place ghastly. I mean, ghastly. And as you can tell, having farm animals and having livestock, and I've got dogs. You've seen them in other videos. I've got pets, and they left that place. They also had animals there. I say that not with any manner of pleasure that they had animals, because I'll tell you what, they didn't do that. Not only did they leave that, it's a double wide mobile home, for those of you that know what that is, and, and they left it in a terrible, terrible state. I'm trying to clear the property now to give us easier access to the home, but yeah, it's gonna take some hard work, and the inside of that place smells so bad that I got to figure out a way to get them windows all open and let some fresh air move through it. But yeah, they were not very nice people. I'm not gonna kid you. I don't name any names. I don't say anything. But if I'm telling you they were not good, I'm telling you. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but these people were terrible. They apparently had chickens, and I was cleaning up some of them, what I thought were just empty pens in their backfield, to get them, just a lot of them were falling apart, and they just had to be kind of just tore down and thrown into a dumpster. And I thought they were just empty pens, and until I got close to seeing what was actually in them, were the remains, we'll say the bones and feathers of all the occupants that were in them pens. They basically, they basically let them critters just sit out there, no food, no water, let them all die. And like I said, in the tropics, it don't take long when you're left without means. And they left them out there to just die, and it was very, very sad to see that. I've seen the remains of ducks and chickens, and the biggest one that kind of broke my heart was There was two, I'm going to say bantam, which are smaller chickens for those of you might know or not know chickens. A couple of bantam skeletons with some feathers laying around the skeletons, and the two bantams were cuddled right against each other when they both passed away, or one passing away first and the other one cuddling it till it passed away. But anyway, around it, they were right together in that pen. And that, you know, I know there's all manner of things that go on in this world, and there's all kinds of terrible things out there that happen to people in general. But when you see something like that, yeah, it's hard. You see something like that makes it pretty hard to you know, you see something like that, and it's hard on you. Hard to see that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I'm walking around. It's early morning now. I'm walking around trying to get the troops fixed back up and tended, and going around doing my morning, water everybody in the morning, feed everybody in the evening. And that's what I'm doing right now, is getting some of my chores done. You can tell by the ground. I kind of point my camera around there so you can see it. Yeah, we had right at dark, we had a terrible thunderstorm. I mean, boom, 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 sounded more like a war zone outside. Thunderstorm go through, and yeah, the two things you got to deal with after the nightly thunderstorm, because it was dark and you didn't dare come outside because it was a light show. And there's Roo too. Hey Roo, he always follows Grandpa around because he's just like every time I'm in the garden, he's a helper. He walks around with me. But excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. You can tell it's morning. I haven't even had my coffee yet. But yeah, it stormed and all that good stuff, and as you can tell from the ground and the associated mess, it was quite a hoo-ah of a storm come through. Had to make sure everything was unplugged in the tropics where I live. Excuse me. Excuse me again. Goodness gracious. Especially where I live, and that's a water barrel. If you're wondering what that is, I've got up here, way up there. You can see them up there, right there. I've got the rain gutters, and I got them where they pour off into these rain barrels. And what these rain barrels are for, I've got my what I call my muddy rain barrel. That's where I wash things up. And anything I get to rinse, it's non-toxic. I use those kind of rain gatherers, bins, to get the general, and I use those as wash tubs for anything non-toxic, like how I just used it to rinse my water and bin for the chickens, for the chicks over there. I rinse it in that. And that I use as garden water. When we get dry spells, I dip out of those, because even the little bits of feed and stuff that get in these, it'll neutralize that water. You pour it on plants, they love it. This over here, the direct rain barrel, the one you can kind of see easy reflection, you can see my camera in it. That I keep as a clean water bucket. Actually, it's got baby tadpoles in there, which is fine. And when you dip, to protect the tab, because I keep tadpoles because they eat mosquitoes, that if I have to dip in there, I keep it level. You push it down to where just the rim of the rim goes in there like this. Okay, I'm spilling a little bit because it's got a displace water area, but you do like this. See where I filled that? And you lift it straight up, and that way you get clean water to pour in these or any of the other pens, and it doesn't hurt I keep wanting to call them minnows. Don't hurt the tadpoles, because they'll push themselves down to get away from it. Because I definitely want them turning into frogs because they're the good kind of frogs. They're not poisonous or anything, and they will eat mosquitoes up. And boy, let me tell you, that's what you want. You want any help you can get, especially in the tropics, to get rid of them mosquitoes, because oh boy, we get them. And I'll show you what I do with this. I just do the same thing. You fill everything right at the rim, and that way the tadpoles know to go down low, get away from what you're doing. And then that's it. I mean, easy peasy. Oh, and not to mention that rainwater. If you don't think rainwater, I know, you know, of course, for human consumption, you need to kind of filter it a little bit, because there'll be some bacteria and things like that just come out of surfaces and the air and stuff. There's Roo too. He's watching me closely. See him? There he is, walking around. But for the animals, for these chickens, there's another pretty chicken right there. And for them pigeons, you can see in there, there's a bunch of pigeons staring at it. Like I said, it's a mess. I got to get in there and clean that up too. That rain don't do nothing no good. It splashes the feed around, makes it muddy. Ugh, it's just a mess. But that rainwater, the difference of feeding your chickens that rainwater out of a barrel versus that water coming out of your pipes from your water, in city water, I want to call it. That city water, now you got to be careful because I'm trying to put it on. I have this on a raised platform. You kind of see it in there. See how it's raised up? Because if you have it down there, they'll have that thing full of kicked feed, and that kicked feed soaks that water up, turns into mud, and then they don't have water. So you always want to give yourself a little raised platform that keeps where they got water easily. So, but anyway, but that rainwater out of that barrel, 100 times more healthier. 100 times more healthier. Well, I'll tell you one thing though about these evening and late afternoon thunderstorms. If you can see these plants, I can't barely see some of my decorations now because the plants are like, yeah, we'll gladly take all that rain and rainwater and do stuff with it. But you can see how it kicks all these leaves out of the trees. I got I got that oak tree I always talk about up there that protected all this stuff from that pine falling up there. But you can see it drops leaves when we get our storms coming through. Oh, gnome down. Gnome down. I've got several gnome collection things going on in my garden. I got this one with the little, you can see these are very little gnomes. It's almost hard to see them. See how little they are? I like this collection because you can put a lot of them in there and with little buildings and stuff, and it all works pretty cute. That's my little gnome collection, and I have a big garden gnome collection, which these guys get roughed up by the chickens a little bit, and some of the dogs, but mostly the chickens rough them up. I got to come back through. There, believe it or not, there is a wood platform there. If you dig down, you can see it. There we go. There it is. You can see the little piece of wood right there. That's my big gnome collection. I'll call big gnome. They're not the real giant ones like some people like to put them great big tall ones. These are them. You can see how big they are to my hand. Bigger, not too big, but bigger than the baby tiny ones over there. But they're not the giant gnomes you see in garden. These are nice ones, and they're you can get them at like dollar store type places and pretty easily. I got a few other figures in here. These are animal figures I got in here, and gorilla and sow elephants and stuff. But as you can see, early in the summer, I could walk up to this, and you could see this whole display here was just open. And as you can see, after our rains, it get a little hard to see stuff. I mean, you can see it. It's it's starting to get hard to see stuff, because look at this. Look at there's even more animals in there. You just can't see. Look, can't even see them, because there's a elephant with a cacti in it right there. Yeah, it gets hard to see stuff because everything's growing. Weeds are growing too, but the plants are growing like weeds. We'll call it that. That clean out place, I have found a few things to bring home. This right here, that is not a plastic penguin. That thing is the heaviest, thickest ceramic penguin I have ever come across in my days. Now, I know it's kind of more or less a Christmas decoration, but he's a garden. Oh, you can kind of see the thickness right there. Look at the thickness of that ceramic in there. So I'm leaving him there, safe and sound. This was laying out there in the field behind that rental. I brought that home, fixed it. It was bent up. I squared it all up, put a few zip ties on it to hold it together better and clean those up. But this is kind of neat because I haven't figured out what I'm doing with it yet. I'll probably put some either small potted plants on. I do have some small plant pots. And some small potted plants or something or another. The cactus that we got a long time ago when he was little has grown up. That's what used to be known as Baby Frank. And Baby Frank has gotten into Big Frank, I want to call him. Baby Frank turned into Big Frank, and oddly enough, I don't know what's going on up here. I don't know if this is some kind of I don't know. This just started, so I don't know if this is a beginning of a bloom stage. I like cacti, just not familiar with a lot of the cactus lore, what they do to change hands. My other hand was falling asleep. Not real sure. Anyway, also brought this table, was laying out there buried under some junk, and it was still in pretty good shape. Brought it home. This was laying out there in the mud. I cleaned it up, and it's actually pretty cute. Looks good in the garden anyway. And this plant was left out there abandoned. I repotted it, stuck it here in this holder. I used to have that thing down there, that yellow cocoa cup in there, but this is big. You can see that's pretty big. And look how pretty that is. Look at the bloom. There's one unfurling. And look at these. And look how pretty those are. Look at the color of them. I mean, y'all have seen this one. That's my wife's plant all along. And it's doing real good. It's pretty. It stays pretty through the summer and fall. But this thing is something new. And you can see it's pretty big. You can see compared to my hand, it's pretty big blooms too. And it looks good sitting next to that one, because they're just a very unique, very tropical, nice, pretty color blooming thing. There's Rue 1, or just Rue. That's the buddy of Rue 2, who I think is behind me somewhere. I heard him. They talk to each other. That's how you know they're all. But a bunch of the kids are having breakfast this morning, and I got to get a few of them cleaned up around their pens. I got to get their pens cleaned up. And like I said, after a thunderstorm, if you got livestock, you know, whether it's cow, whether it's four-legged livestock, which I've had in the past, or poultry livestock, which is pretty much all I got now. As you get older, it's easier to just have feathered livestock. Plus, I appreciate their fresh eggs all the time. But yeah, you anytime you got feeds and animals of any type of livestock involved, when you get the weather mixing with them, you can be doing some you're doing some janitorial, we'll call it that, janitorial work, cleanup work, because they're still kids. They still have to have their thing going on. You can see this thing, when I first put it here with that bar I told you I'd previously found in the dirt, my son found it in the dirt. I put that little growing, little tropical vine thing, and it was right down there at the bottom. And as you can see, I'll move this so you can really see it. Look at that. That thing has come all the way, look. This is the top. This is way up here now. This is about 5 foot. That thing done brought itself up. And it's on its way back down. It's done a full wrap around that ring. And that's pretty impressive. There's my what I call my broke back or devil backbone. Some people call it broke back. Some people call it devil backbone plant. I moved it out here. It was over there. And it's a little more shade over there than light. I mean, it still gets some sunlight over there. When I had moved it over here, this is the opposite. This is a little more sunlight here because you can see where you can kind of see. I get a little more sunlight beyond that oak tree here. And as soon as I moved that beast, it said, hello, this is where I want to be. Because it went from kind of this size area. And that's what you do, is you get used to seeing how big they are previously. It was about that much area, and as you can see, there we go. Look at my finger tracing that out. That thing is just like, watch what I can do. That thing's a beast, and it's still in a pot, as you can see. It's a pretty good bet that as long as I'm clear of the root structure of that oak, you can kind of see a little bit of that root structure in there. If I get clear of that root structure enough to dig a hole, maybe here-ish, I'll probably go ahead and plant that beast right there and let it turn into, it doesn't turn into a tree, it turns into a very large, whatever it is, plant. But it's really neat. And I'll kind of show you down the aisle there. You know, those are the neat colored lights. They're still working great. I'm very proud of those lights. Those 10 lights, they still come right on at night and change color. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful display. As you can see though, here's the funny part. That's called ground cover. And there's a reason it's called ground cover, because once it starts getting a lot of rain, it's covering. As you can see, it's trying to cover up my stepping stones. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to come through with my little weed trimmer and square. I'll leave it. I like it growing around them, but I have to square off my stepping stones because you ain't gonna be able to see them a couple weeks from now. They'll just be green. And as you can see through here, this is a plant zone. And that ground cover, I mean, you still see the plants, and they're still real pretty. Look how pretty they're blooming. Look. They're very delicate little blooms. You see that. But they're blooming like a beast because of getting the sun and the rain. Those are roos. Those are roosters singing. You hear that singing? They do a little sing-song to each other, especially in the mornings. There's another one. Look how pretty and delicate those flowers are. Isn't that something? Sometimes delicate flowers can be just as pretty as the great big ones. People will always see big ones and ooh, ah, yeah, beautiful. And sometimes the little ones can be pretty neat too. I know you're like, what are you doing? What that bicycle in there? That's an abandoned bike. I have it propped up with some bricks right now. And you can kind of see them there and one on the other side. I'm not sure what I'm doing with it. There it is. Some people will paint them all white and put baskets on them. I'll probably put a basket on it. You can see I put some little flower lights in them. You can see them right there, and I got some towards the back. But what I might do is bring some brush paint out here of either maybe a blue or off-white or something, and brush paint it. And I'd like to put a basket right there and put some plants in it, and it'd make it kind of pretty and more garden looking. Right now it just looks like somebody got tired of riding their bike and parked it in my garden. That's about what we got right now. This here is a new plant. This was also left abandoned at that cleanup rental I told you. It was, you can tell it was not being treated too good, because it's, you can see it's all kind of bent over. It's too big to be in a pot. What I'm trying to do is get the root structure to recover, because it was pretty beat up. I mean, she was in very bad shape when I brought it home about a couple weeks ago. It looking much healthier now. All the leaves are getting more springy and their colors come back. You see it's a very big plant, you see, compared to my hand. I'm letting the root structure get healthy, and then it seems to like where it's at, because I always kind of look at the type, what the plant looks like. It's staying vibrant, and it's not getting too much sun, not too much, about half and half here. So where it's sitting, I sort of use that as a sample ground to see how she does where it's at. So since it is doing so good, and even a baby is coming up, you can see that. And there's another short one there. I'll probably go ahead and dig that out right there, drop her in the ground right there. I'm letting that root structure get a little more healthy, a little more solid, and then as an entire, dig that out same size as that bucket right there, drop her in the ground, let her go to town. And we got our little elephant ear plant out here, which loves where it's at. As long as they get water, you get leaves that are elephant ear. That's all I got to say about that. And she really likes where she's at. Got a little mix of plants in the base of it, but there's the main part of that beast. Okay, like I said, y'all done seen the chickens in there. They're all happy because they done had breakfast. But the grandpa's got to get in there and do some raking. I got a shovel and rake, and then it's nice and clean in there for another day or two. Up here we got a few plants that are going to town, as you can see in the upstairs area. That's my giant peace lily right there. And as you can tell, she ain't at all upset about all this rainwater coming down. Yeah, a bit, because that right there is a good 5 foot tall. Now she is in a pot. See down there, and it's got a few other plants in it with it. She is in a pot because this thing will get, if we do have a cold spell, and every once in a while the tropics get a cold snap. I'm not saying we don't. We haven't in the past couple years. We may not this year either, because the weather's all weird right now. But if we do hear a pretty hard freeze coming, keeping that in a pot, other such plants, because if you don't either cover them and create a heat source for them out of some regular incandescent bulb lights, so it keeps a heat source, these things will flat get killed. So I got this one staying in a pot so I can drag it into the shop with a hand truck. I got a cart and a hand truck, I can carry it in there. This especially will get hurt, because these plants are very, very timid to heat, cold, you name it. The tropical weather like this, where you see the wet and it's hot, they love that. That's their go-to weather. But as soon as things get weird, you got to do a little tending to them. So you can see how pretty that is. They got pretty, they're real light colored on one side, a little darker on the top. They're just very pretty plants, and they do the prettiest blooms. This is actually a bloom. They're real brilliant white when they first come up, and then they deepen to this tan yellow. And there's the bloom. There's the bloom part in there. But you see look how big that is to my hand. That thing's huge. There's little peace lilies. I do have a few of them too, but this is one of the big. This is one of the big girls right there. All right. Anyway, I figured I'd, like I said, walk the garden, give you an update, tell you my goods and bads and my woes and victories. And oh yeah, I got another thing going on there. So don't have nothing in it yet. Big long. That's clay. And one of them plastic ones. You go, oh, that's a plastic old long trellis container. Nope, that's clay, and it's heavy. Says right on it, stamped and made in Italy, so that's pretty cool too. I kind of like something that's import like that. Anyway, tired of talking your head off. You're like, okay, are you done? I am done. I will try to group some videos a little more close together now. It's not quite such a heat wave, and I've got quite a few things done, so I can have time to enjoy my garden a little more and let the roos walk around my feet more, and just generally be at peace with the world and nature, and that's the way it should be. So y'all take care of yourselves, and like I said, I'll get another update sooner than later, and y'all take care.